Hey everybody, this is Joe from 4th Avenue Entertainment here today, giving you a new video. And what we're doing is, last video I said that I was doing a diorama and I was going to go ahead and show you guys what it looked like, and this is going to be the video for that. Along with that, I'm going to show you what materials I used, the techniques I used, and try to go give you the upfront cost and everything that came along with it. So that you go ahead and know what you're getting yourself into. So without further ado, now remember, this is not completed yet. This is still a work in progress, but this is my diorama. And so we have riverbed, ground, both sides, a rock channel, 2 rocks in the middle, and then the blending of the waters really didn't go to kind of how I wanted it, but again, this is my very first one, so I still have a lot left to learn. Now, this does have the clear coat water to it. I should actually just go ahead and just look at like this, because then he's like, ooh, it looks like water. Yeah. That is a technique. I'll tell you how to do that here, but this is the actual diorama itself. I've been working on this since about end of November, beginning of December, kind of off and on, and it's been really fun. I've had a lot of joy to it, and so I'm going to go ahead now and tell you what else I'm going to do with it first. So right now, what I need to finish on this is I have a Zaku that I've weathered and kind of destroyed. And then I'm going to be placing bits all around. And then I'm going to have that twin Loto set in the last video come through on both sides, kind of like a patrol, and it comes across it. But it's been a while since that battle happened. So it's just something as simplistic as that, but yet still kind of works. So I still have to put the Zaku down. I still have to do a little bit of the weathering with that, figure out how I'm going to get the 2 robots anchored on this thing so they don't move. And once I get that figured out, I think everything will work out just fine. And then I got to put some like white water effects like around here and like kind of like around the rocks and where it kind of juts up against the bank, excuse me, the bank here. And then it'll be done. And then I can just move on to my next one. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go over I'm going to do a tell, don't show type of presentation of how I got to this point, because I have no clue exactly how to stitch me doing all the work together, and I don't even have any footage of it because that would take too long. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to tell you the cost of this whole thing, because there were some things I was able to procure for free. Other stuff I had to pay out of pocket for, supplies, things like that. It's kind of a 90%, 10% sort of thing. So what we'll do is I'll start at the beginning and then tell you what I did all the way up to this point. So to start with that, I had a plan of this square with this channel cut out with at least 2 rocks like in the middle of it, things like with that. Now, as far as the water is concerned, and again, the light's coming this way with it, so you're going to see this white showing up, and all that is just clear coat that hadn't completely dried, that also showed bubbles, which I will go ahead and do kind of like a river rapid sort of thing to kind of cover it up a little bit, because it kind of looks better looking at it from this way than it does this way, as you can obviously tell. Right? Right. So I had the plan marked out. So now I needed the first part of materials. So the first part was the base. You always start with the good base. And so this is just particle board that I was able to get from work. free, didn't cost me anything. Brought it home. It was already cut out to the shape, so it was just the perfect size. And then what I did was I found 3, here, let me grab this here, 3 things. And see, this is just styrofoam, 3 sheets, and this is about ½ an inch thick. And these came from a packing in a box from a desk set that my wife and I bought for one of our daughters. And I looked at it and I said, I could use this. So I went ahead and I cut out the sheets, and they were originally probably 4 feet long and wider than this. So I had to cut it to fit the board here. And then I bought some styrofoam glue, which is the first thing that I bought for this. And that came out to about $4.50. I'm just going to round it to the nearest thing that I can remember that I bought it for. So about $4.50. And then I glued all 3 together, and I glued it then to the board. And then I let it dry for at least 2 days. They always say, 24 hours, you can go and work on this in 30 minutes. No, I give it at least 2 days just to make sure that it works. Then I took my plan and markered it out with a permanent marker on the top styrofoam. And then I took my X-Acto knife, which I already owned, that has multiple blades to it, and I took a kind of a chiseling type blade, and I chiseled out this entire channel from the top layer of styrofoam all the way down to the board. So you had white board underneath all this. And then this stuff here was along the side. And I just kind of chiseled away at this to kind of rough everything up, kind of make it look a little bit more natural. So that was that first step there. Then I bought a rock mold set. This is Natural Scenics rock mold and a bag of plaster. Now the rock mold itself was $13. The plaster was $11, but the plaster is like a 13-pound bag of it. So, I mean, there's a lot of plaster rocks that you can make with that. So that's going to be spread out against a lot of dioramas that I'm going to do. But I started making rocks. And, you just put it in a bowl, add water, mix it to a paste, put it in here, make sure it's as flat as possible, let it dry for about 5 hours, and then pop them out and start all over again. And then what I did was, for like this long one here, I would bust it up. For this one here, I'd bust it up and just make like smaller rocks. And that's what all this is along here, is just these busted. So I had those. Then I went to a hobby store in Minnesota and bought Sculptamold. This stuff, I love this stuff. This stuff is good. And as you can see, it's just a fibrous material, kind of like insulation. But it's actually, I believe, toilet paper that's been kind of mushed up in and watered and dried multiple times. But this stuff here, all you do is you just put it again in a bowl, add water, and then you stir it. You want to add water in little amounts until it's like the consistency of cottage cheese. Reason being is that it's going to stick to the surface and not slide everywhere. Also, it doesn't take forever to dry, because that was the thing that I always had to remember was, I have this all set up, but now I got to wait for it to dry, which is fine, because then it helps me think what to do for everything else. So I made the Sculptamold in bowls with spoons, and the spoons and the bowls and everything I got from the dollar store, and that literally was $3. So not too expensive, along with and that did that also with the plaster, still that same $3. 2 bowls, spoons, and I had measuring cups and everything already here at the house, so didn't have to worry about that. So I made the Sculptamold, pushed that into place, took the rocks, pushed that into place how I wanted it, and then use Sculptamold to fill in the gaps so that it looks like all one continuous thing, and then I let it dry. And then I put that rock there, that rock there. And then I did a wash of the rocks to get it kind of that gray, kind of the light gray. I didn't really want it too dark because I knew the channel here would be dark enough at some points. And I kind of want like a light contrast to a dark body. So you have all that there. Again, wait for it to dry. In a wash, all you do is you just add paint and then you just dilute it with water. And I used acrylic. Always use acrylic paints. They're the easiest to use, easiest to clean up. Mix it up and then you just paint it over the rocks. Let it dry. Get a little darker thing, paint it over the rocks. Let it dry. Maybe a little lighter thing, paint it over the rocks, let it dry. Then you dry brush the top layer to get that detail going in. So I had the rocks, the Sculptamold, and then I took a mixture of isopropyl alcohol. No, I take that back. That comes later. I took a mixture of Mod Podge, which is kind of like a glue, and diluted it just a tiny bit with water. Spread that all over the Sculptamold, both sides, and then I sprinkled this stuff here. This is Scenic's ground turf. So that's going to be like the dirt, the ground actually itself. And I just sprinkled it all over the Sculptamold. And the Mod Podge itself was about $4. And then I let that dry. And then I took some more Mod Podge, put it in spots, and then I used like these scenic grasses, and there's still a lot in here, and then sprinkled that over the actual glues, letting that set in place. Then I have a bottle that, I have 2 bottles. One is isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Another one is a thing of 1 part Mod Podge, 3 parts water, and then like 4 drops of dish soap all mixed together. And so what you do is you'll go ahead and you'll spray this part here with the isopropyl alcohol first, because what that does is it makes it wets all of this in order for it to accept the glue mixture, and it actually soaks into the material and dries and keeps it there and makes it look like it's supposed to be there instead of a white, or in this case with Mod Podge, a clear crust. If you did not use that alcohol or the rubbing alcohol first and I just sprayed it with the Mod Podge mixture, all this would have like a sheen of glue crust all over it, and it would just be ruined. So you have that. So then once I got this done, that done, the rocks all finished, boom, boom, both sides, then I started with the water channel. And that was toilet paper and wood glue. And it's just as simple as wood glue, which was probably, I think the wood glue that I chose was about $8. And it's just Gorilla Glue. Gorilla Glue that turns clear. You have to make sure that it turns clear. And what you'll do is you'll just pour a hunk of that into a bowl, add some water to it, make a very, like, almost milk consistency. And then you'll just take a paintbrush and you'll paint it on the wood. And then what you do is you'll take toilet paper, and before you start, rip off a whole bunch of sheets, a ton of sheets. And you'll just go ahead and you'll put the mixture down first, and then you'll just slap the toilet paper on, and then you'll take that mixture and just kind of dab it into the toilet paper and just repeat that all the way across. When you get to the end, you start over, all the way across, start over, and you put about 4 layers of that on there, and that's going to be your riverbed. And then if you have any decorations, you just take your paintbrush and you just stipple the pattern out, and any seam lines between toilet papers. And you just dab those out so then it's all nice, one continuous thing. Then you make the paint, and actually you let it dry for about 4 days. And then you'll actually put the paint on. And I wanted to do like a kind of like up against the rocks was kind of shallow. And then it just immediately goes down and gets to a very deep channel. Kind of didn't work out the way I wanted to. The blending didn't, and it was my fault because I didn't use enough paint, or I didn't glob the paint enough on the sides here. But I definitely globbed it in the middle, and then when I tried to mix it didn't really work that well. But you put the paint down, and then you wet another paintbrush, and then you blend everything in. And then you let that dry for 3 days. So, I mean, you put the toilet paper down, 4, paint it all, 3. So it was a week between when I started it and when I put the clear coat on, which is just like a Minwax polyacrylic clear coat, but a very high gloss. That way you get the shine of a river, of a water thing. And so what you'll do is you'll just put a layer, you'll just paint a layer on, and then let it dry. And they said 2 hours in between each coat. I knew from my job that the more layers you put on of a clear coat, the longer you have to allow it to dry in between each. So that first layer, yeah, it was about 2 hours, but I set it for 3. And then the second time you go over it, you're not going to use the polyacrylic. You're actually going to take the wood glue, and you're going to put a thin layer of the wood glue, not diluted or anything, just pure wood glue, all over where you painted the polyacrylic. Then you let that dry. What that does is that it makes a layer, a thickening layer between the actual paint and all the other layers, so that you have the illusion of depth. Because if you didn't have it, you would just have so many layers, and then you just have the paint right there, where you want to have it look like it's actually deep water. And then after that glue dried, I ended up over 2 days putting on 7 more coats of the polyacrylic, letting that dry. So that finished yesterday morning, and this is what it looks like when it's all said and done. From this angle, yeah, it looks great like water. From here, but you can see like right there, there's my boo-boo. But again, I'll just do some whitewater stuff, and I'll clean that out too. do that right there on camera. That's professional of me. That's okay. But we'll go ahead and get that figured out. So, and then what I'm going to do is like I said, I'm going to take that Zaku, put it in spots, do some more weathering with it, put the other 2 robots out there, and then I'm done. So, all in all, with all the materials that I had to get for this diorama, because again, I didn't have them, came to just under $100. But again, that $100 now is going to get stretched over a bunch more dioramas. So it's not going to seem so expensive. But if you can try to get as many materials as you can around your house or work or somewhere else for nothing, that's even better. So that's basically the video. So now what I'm going to start doing is I have a new stash of kits that I'm going to do. So I'm going to do like an unboxing, putting it together, and then do like a review of the actual kit so that you can see if you want to go ahead and get it or not. And that'll be upcoming videos in the days and or weeks to come. So thank you very much for watching. If you like what you saw, go ahead and give that thing a like. If you want to leave any sort of a comment, go ahead and just pop it down in the comment section there. Subscribe if you want to. But this has been the diorama video, so I'll go ahead when I get it completely done. I'll give you another video of the actual complete show, and then maybe give you an idea of what I'm going to have next going on. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.